Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Bill's Vlogs. Coming to you again from the shop. As usual, just coming off my lunch break here. I think what it is I have time to sit down for a few minutes and think about some stuff in life, and then I just feel like doing a video. So that's what we're doing today. But anyway, today's video is about it's about a four-letter word. Four-letter words. No, this is not a bad four-letter word. It's a good one. Something that I want to share with you guys. So, there's gonna be a little bit of a story involved in this one, but hang in there. I think it'll be good. So, anyway, I guess we'll start with it like this. I've been watching the Dale Earnhardt. I guess maybe it's just called Earnhardt. The documentary on Prime. And I think there's maybe an episode or two left, maybe. I'm getting close to the end, I think, but I've watched quite a few of them, and it's been really good. Now, I guess we'll go back a little bit. I'm 44 years old, so I was grew up in the 80s and then through the 90s, which maybe you might want to say that was kind of in the NASCAR. The NASCAR was definitely on the incline there, and maybe even peaked in there somewhere. I'm not sure. Maybe it was in the 2000s at some point in time. But growing up, NASCAR was a big deal. You had NASCAR, you had IndyCar, and I guess maybe drag racing then too. But I didn't really get into the drag racing at all until later in life, which I enjoy watching John Force and that kind of stuff there. But that's kind of changed a little bit too. But anyway. So grew up in the shop, and in the house. Sundays rolled around, and a lot of times back then we were racing on Sundays, and you'd have the AM, FM radio on. Yes, I said AM because a lot of times we'd have the AM station on. The local station was AM 1000, Country Gold. Anyway, they'd have the NASCAR race on. So we'd be in the shop getting ready to race on a Sunday afternoon and be listening to the race. And then as I got older, of course, then we'd watch it on TV, TNN, ABC, CBS, whatever, ESPN, TNN, the Nashville Network. Think about that. There's one I haven't said in a long time. But we grew up a Dale Earnhardt fan. Why was I an Earnhardt fan? I guess because my dad was an Earnhardt fan. I think the guys that worked on the crew at the time were some of them guys were Earnhardt fans, and Dale Earnhardt was the man. That black number 3 was iconic. He was fast. Yes, at times he was controversial. 7-time champion, all that good stuff. So, fast forward a little bit, and to where we're watching NASCAR on Sundays on TV, and eventually we all know what happened. Daytona 500, Dale Earnhardt loses his life in that crash in turn 4, last lap. Man, that was even right now, just talking about it, I get a little bit of goosebumps thinking about it because I remember where I was, remember watching the whole thing. And unfortunately, I remember, I just remember the body language of Ken Schrader looking in that car, and in my gut said something was wrong. And my good friend Brian Lebo, we always talked back then. We hung out, and I remember him calling me after we heard about what happened. And he didn't make it. And that was like a weird conversation. Not weird in a bad way, but it was just like silence, like a weird silence, So, anyhow, Earnhardt fan through and through. And then I'm a Dale Jr. fan, of course. And then several other guys over the years, too, that I was fans of. So now, I had seen a couple of these Earnhardt, the movie, and some of the other stuff, but they never really had Dale Jr. in it, and his sister Kelly in it, and Carrie. And I feel like this Earnhardt documentary is really kind of in depth, and it's probably because of the personal perspective of his kids. I always thought Dale Jr. talked, once he kind of talked really good. I like the way he was kind of like a no BS. He just kind of said what he thought or what was on his mind or like that, And I like that about him. So I'm watching this documentary, and they start talking about their dad. And eventually you learn that they didn't feel the connection, so to say, with their father. They didn't feel like emotionally their dad was in tune with them, is what I'm going to say. Okay. Their dad never really said that he loved them. There's the 4-letter word love. Okay. And that's tough, right? That's tough to think about. You look at it from afar and you feel like these, they got plenty of money, they got all this stuff going for them. They're racing, all these big, the fame and fortune, what have you. But as is most time, they all have the same struggles or problems that we may have. They're normal people. Okay, they're just in the spotlight all the time. So then that got me thinking about a time in my life, and this is where the vlog is going. This is what it's about. Now, if you've been following along, you've heard me mention the name Mike, my men's group pastor at church, and Mike Aiello. And so let me tell you a little story about me. Now, when I was struggling with my personal life, it really had nothing to do with, at that point in time, I wasn't even racing. I quit racing. And Mike kind of took me under his wing. He would talk to me, and we would talk at church and stuff like that. But Mike was the leader of the men's group. So every Monday night, throughout the winter or maybe the fall, spring, something like that, they'd have a Monday night. I think it was at 7 or 7:30. I don't even know what time it was. Mike he would hold the men's group at his house. He had a room down his basement. A bunch of us guys would show up, and it was really good. And it was good for me because at the time I was struggling emotionally, spiritually, all these things in my life that I was going through. So I'm at the men's group. The first couple of times I was there, I'm my awkward self, socially awkward self at the time. I just kind of took it all in, didn't really participate much. But as time went on, I got comfortable there. Let's just put it that way, and I would talk about things in the men's group. So Mike would usually start the group, whatever you want to call it, our interaction, our little meeting off with like a little bit of what was the message was the day prior at church service. And one time the guys got to talking about showing affection or giving affection, or receiving affection or love, as men. And then that got me thinking a little bit because, I am, and this is nothing bad. This is no bad intention of me talking about any of this. It's just the way things are, right? So I work here with my dad and my brother. We run this business. The three of us run this business. And at that moment in time, for the life of me, I couldn't remember us guys, telling each other that we cared about each other, or God forbid, you say you love another man, right? Even though it's family. And if you're a guy out there watching this, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. So that got me thinking that day. We're at the men's group, and somebody starts talking about this stuff. I'm like, I'm pretty emotional in a lot of ways. And here I am spending my time every day, more time with my dad and my brother than I do with anybody else. And we have our moments here where we act like a bunch of goofballs and carry on. And we have our moments here where we yell at each other and don't really like each other for one reason or another. And I kind of feel like it all starts with my dad, right? You know, because he's our dad. He's our dad. And I proceed during this men's group just to kind of speak up. And I said, well, you know, I'm like, now that we're talking about this, I remember telling Mike, you know, I work with my dad and my brother, and we never say that we love each other or we care about each other or even give somebody a hug, okay? It sounds weird, all right? But it's true. So I told Mike, I said, here's what I'm going to do. I said, I'm going to go to work tomorrow. I'm going to walk in that door. And as soon as everybody gets there, I'm going to tell each one of them, my dad and my brother, I'm going to tell them I love them, and I'm going to give them each a hug. And that's what I did. Came to work that day. Of course, my dad was here first. I waited for Danny to get here because he's always 3 to 5 minutes late. And they get here, and I just said, hey, I just want you guys to know. I said, Dad, I love you. And he got up, and I gave him a hug. And I said, Danny, I love you too. I gave him a hug. Now, obviously, the hug with Danny was probably a little more awkward because it's brotherly love. But that's the point of this video, is if you're a guy out there, we don't have to be too macho, all right? Because I know we are, all right? And you know, when I did that day, I'm not gonna lie, I got a little emotional, you know, because I care about my dad. I love him. I care about my brother. I love him too. I love all my family, you know. But it's just something we don't do. And I feel like when I watched that Dale Earnhardt documentary, and there's his kids, you know, and they're like, you know, there's this guy, and he's the man, you know, he's a legend, but he didn't tell them that he loved them. Did they know that he loved them? I'm sure they did, but he didn't say it. And that's something that we struggle with here. That's something that I struggle with. And it took that moment in time, that nudge, I'm going to say from God, and being around my men's group pastor, being around my friend, for me to get to that point and to be able to do that. And it's pretty big. It's pretty big. You know, the look on my dad's face was really, I almost felt like, you know, it really hit home. It hit hard, you know, because, you know, we take things for granted, and obviously he's getting older in life, you know, and can't do as much as he used to, but we don't always act any different, okay? We carry on like men that are tough and rough and what have you. It reminds me of one time when I'm talking about this a friend of ours, Bobby B, a sprint car driver. I used to race. We lost him a few years ago, but I remember us talking one time, and we were talking about racing and about myself, my brother, my dad, us all three racing against each other at the same time. And Bobby said to me, he goes, well, you know, how's it, you know, how do you feel when your brother beats you, or, you know what I mean, you're one of these other guys beat you? And I just responded like, no, I don't know, like, it doesn't really bother me, you know? And his response to me was, I don't know if I could handle that like that, you know. And this is what he said, and he wasn't being rude. We were just cutting up and talking. He's like, I'm just too much of a man to let stuff like that go without, you know, it affecting him emotionally. Not you know, not like pissed off, but like, you know, he wants to beat everybody on the track. And I feel like that's a lot of us guys in general. We're just too much of a man at times, to a fault, you know. So that's what this video is about. I'm just here to try and encourage you guys out there, because I know there's gonna be guys watching this and gals watching this, and you know, you guys are gonna be maybe thinking about this. Maybe there's a loved one out there that you need to tell you love or you care about or whatever, and it's okay. It's okay to say it, you know. And I did it that one time, and that wasn't the last time I've done it. You know, I've done it several times since then. I tell my son, you know, he's 21 years old now. I say, hey, buddy, have a good day. I love you. You know, I love you. Have a good day, whatever, however I say it. And that word carries a lot. It carries a lot of weight, okay? Just to know sometimes that somebody that you're close to, you spend a lot of time with, feels that way about you, you know, and they think that much of you to love you and to say it. Yeah, I just want to come on here and share that with everybody. I told Mike, after this went down, and then the next week we went to the men's group, and I said, hey, everybody, I'm like, you know, I just want you to know I held up my end of the deal, and it went great. Was I a little nervous? A little bit. I was a little nervous not because of my dad's reaction, but just a little nervous because it was something that I hadn't done. But it was fine. I almost feel like it was a breakthrough for us here, us three guys, to know that, you know, we all love each other and we care about each other. Of course, the phone would ring. I'm almost through this, so I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. It's since started pouring down rain here, dumping down rain. Does it all the time. But I guess this is how we're gonna wrap this video up. When I watched the Earnhardt documentary, and I heard and I could feel the sadness or the pain or whatever you want to say, disappointment through the television coming from Dale and Kelly and Carrie, about not necessarily knowing or hearing their dad share how he felt about them, that he loved them. It made me sad. You know, it really made me sad. And I know that, you know, his time on earth is done, but they will meet again. But I just wanted to encourage everybody out there that, you know, take that step. Talk to your friends if you need some encouragement, whatever it is. Tell the people that you care about and that you're around that you love them, or give them a hug. And you don't have to be too much of a man to do it. There's nothing wrong with us guys, you know, showing some affection for the people that we care about. I've been around, you know, crew members and, you know, family and guys all my life, you know, just in the racing world in general. And I know that there's so many people out there that just are so damn tough and gritty and whatever you want to call it, that I can't imagine them, you know, sharing their feelings with people. But I just wanted to encourage you that let you know that it's okay to do so. And my God, I love my dad, I love my brother, I love all my family. I should probably tell them all more than what I do. But, you know, don't let the time slip by, is my point. And if this video helps you, then by golly, I'm super happy for you. And if you know somebody that needs to hear it, tell them to watch it. So I guess that's a wrap. Excuse me. You know, when I think back a little bit now on the NASCAR back in the day, man, it was such a good time. Such a good time. We used to, there's something funny. I think it's funny, okay? Cool, funny. is we used to go to the track. Of course, we'd get there kind of early. And I remember going to Lincoln on Saturdays, and they would have the NASCAR Busch race on the PA system. So I remember getting there early. We'd be sitting in the grandstands, what have you, and you could listen to the NASCAR race. So you knew what was going on. You knew that, Mark Martin was going to probably win the Busch race. He was fast. And then we go to Susquehanna, which is now BAPS, on Sunday. Same thing. You get to the races, late afternoon. You'd have the PA system on playing the NASCAR race. So I still watch NASCAR some, but it's hard for me now because all my heroes ain't racing anymore. Some of them we lost. Some of them just Father Time got to them. So don't let Father Time get to you without letting the people you know that you love and care about, letting them know how you feel. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.